I came across a video from the 90s of a pastor losing his mind over Pokémon.
Cute little one. Everybody go, oh, come on. His tail. It's a lightning bolt. And it's a satanic Z. And now you notice he's not quite so cute anymore, and his little satanic tail is really erect.
It's hilarious. I don't know about you guys, but I remember religious people losing it over Pokemon. Of course, hindsight is 20/20, so let's take another look with fresh eyes and see if it's cringy. Actually, there are a couple different pastors losing it over Pokemon, so buckle up. Let's get into it. Now, at first glance, you might think this is kind of a stupid video to review, but this is a perfect example of the logical fallacies and propaganda techniques extremists use. In this case, they're applying it to Pokemon, but in a little bit, we'll watch a clip of another pastor using the same propaganda techniques to demonize dancing and rock and roll music. The first clip I wanted to watch is by an unknown pastor. If somebody can identify him for me, post it in the comments. It's from the late 90s. It has to be after 1998 because he shows Pokemon Yellow in a minute, and that was the last game ever released for the Game Boy, September 12th, 1998. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I am a massive retro game fan. I love retro games. I'm a collector, actually, so this is right up my alley. Anyways, let's watch the first clip.
Pokemon. Pocket Monster. The spiral. And it stands for what? Male fertility. It's supposed to be able to mesmerize and hypnotize its enemies. This character over here is called Mewtwo. Every time that you see Mewtwo, he's in this pose. 3 fingers. It means Hail Satan. The Pokemon trading card game is a new collectible card game that is made and distributed by Wizards of the Coast. What is a wizard? Male practitioner of black magic.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, let's start with the black magic part. What we're discussing is the fantasy genre. Jehovah's Witnesses had serious problems with Harry Potter because it included magic. What a stupid, fucked up reason to get upset about something. But think about what they're doing here. They're extrapolating meaning and intent that just isn't there in an effort to demonize something, to prevent their kids from taking part. As I said, in a little bit, I'm going to talk about a pastor that has a serious issue with rock and roll music, even Christian rock.
Many years ago, when I began in the ministry, I used to use Christian rock music bands, and I would listen to them, and as I did, something would just go off in my spirit like a red light, and I couldn't really articulate to myself what the problem was, and then I began an intense 2-year study on rock music, and the result was this 4-part series that deals with the sociological, the spiritual, and the physiological effects of music upon us. You know, music has a physical as well as a spiritual effect upon us. And we deal with that, and we break down the kinds of music that are not good to build the human spirit and the kinds of music that will lift you and reward you as a believer. What kind of music should Christians listen to? What about Christian rock and all the Christian rock music that's going around today?
And he uses the same underhanded tactics to freak people out, to make them feel like there's something really sinister about what they're watching. A company with the word wizard in the name must be inspired by Satan, right? Couldn't possibly just be a reference to a fictional world. As Jehovah's Witnesses said when I was a kid, that's how they get you. They make it seemingly innocuous. Then when they've got you interested, that's when it becomes addicting. They go way, way over the top because they want to freak you out and make you think that Satan is around every corner, waiting and watching for you to drop your guard. Let's keep watching.
These pocket monsters are creatures that inhabit the world with humans. Gotta catch them all. You don't need mom. You don't need dad. You don't need grandparents. You don't need aunts and uncles. You don't need school. And you probably don't even need a church because you're a master. This rap song that's played over again. And it says, I will travel across the land searching far and wide, each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. And then it's enchanted to them. Gotta catch them all.
He's acting like it's an addiction that'll inevitably and intentionally lead you to quit school and church and do absolutely nothing with your life but play Pokemon, like a drug. And I don't know about you guys, but that notion was actually pushed on me as a young Jehovah's Witness. The idea that Pokemon had almost supernatural qualities to it. The animators in Japan did something really weird with Pikachu's blinking eyes that would take over your mind and consume you. And the evidence is right there. It even causes seizures. There was an episode of of Pokémon where Pikachu's eyes flashed at a rate that causes epileptic seizures. When they realized it was causing kids to fall over while watching, they pulled the episode and replaced it with a corrected version. But that's all the evidence they needed to demonize Pokémon even further. It isn't a simple epileptic seizure caused by blinking lights, it's brainwashing. That's the kind of thing I used to hear about video games, and Pokémon specifically. In my case though, the elders' kids in the congregation started playing it, so my parents were like, fuck it. If it's good enough for the elders' kids, it's good enough for me too. So eventually I did play Pokémon. But leading up to that, my family was extremely wary. It's like the satanic panic from the 1980s all over again. Before we continue, I wanted to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring or my Etsy shop. I sell all kinds of cool stuff on Etsy, including cartridge, box, and controller stands for every game system, from the original Nintendo to the PlayStation 4. So give it a look. You might find something you like. Let's keep watching.
Here's the next character. This is Misty. Look at this. If this was actually clear, you'd see that that's a halter top. It stops right there. And she's got short shorts on. She's headstrong and stubborn, constantly arguing with Ash. Typical woman. God forgive me. All right.
Wow, man. What were they smoking back then? Seriously. This is what they talked about in between their anti-LGBTQ rants. The anti-LGBTQ stuff got really intense in the 1980s during the AIDS crisis. Most pastors dismissed it completely because it was a gay disease, something God sent to earth to deal with all the sinners. And the ones that did worry about catching it decided to wear masks. How about that shit? They absolutely refused to wear masks during the COVID pandemic, but they wear masks during the AIDS pandemic. Something that wouldn't even help. I just don't even know what to say. The point is that these people, even since the 1980s, never gave a shit about principles or consistency or beliefs. What they gave a shit about was hating their enemy, and us versus them mentality. It's been like that since the beginning, and it's only getting worse as time goes on. Let's keep watching.
The Kadabra character has a pentagram on his forehead. And he has SSS across his chest. Satan's solemn servant. The Kadabra character is always pictured on the card with his left hand giving the satanic salute.
What? Kadabra doesn't have a pentagram on his head. He has a star. What the fuck is he talking about? And he doesn't have S's on his chest either. Satan's solemn servant? Who's to say it doesn't mean super secret sweetheart or sarcastic Sabbath sandwich? Why does it have to be Satan's solemn servant? It isn't S's anyways. The whole thing is ridiculous. Let's check out the next pastor. This guy's name is Phil Arms. Give it a watch.
I said, son, what is that one morning? He said, that's Pokemon. Son, I found out that Pokemon means pocket monster. Pokemon, plural, are incredible creatures that share the world with humans. Each has its own fighting abilities. Some grow and evolve into even more powerful creatures.
Okay, I guess I can give him credit for getting the name right. My mom used to call it Pokemon just to piss me off. She knew how it was pronounced. She did it anyways. Let's keep watching.
The children are developing relationships with all these Pokemon creatures, little reclusive, power-filled monsters. But why should they carry these monsters in their pocket? They say the Pokemon whole effort is to train children how to become the #1 Pokemon master in the world. You follow it through the New Age teaching, you find out that masters are those who take control of spirits in the dark realm, and they tell those spirits what to do.
Spirits in the dark realm. Interesting. That's not the impression I got when I played. I got the impression that it was a fictional world where they were effectively intelligent animals, and you kept them like a pet. You built a relationship with them the same way you'd build a relationship with a dog. Except, wait, that's not quite right. You aren't building a relationship with them. The character is building a relationship with them. You don't care one way or another. You, as the player, recognize they're nothing more than pixels on a screen. It's just a video game, nothing more. But remember, this is black magic from the dark realm. Pokemon's animators knew what they were doing, and they were insidious and intentionally set out to brainwash you into giving up church. We've been seeing this exact type of demonization since the dawn of time. When they pick something to hate, they go all out. Dancing, LGBT people, rock and roll music, Pokemon, video games in general, whatever. There always has to be some enemy that's after their children. There always has to be some crisis to solve. This is behavior and information control. They want to form the kids' personalities into something something that's useful to them, and dancing, having fun, or playing video games aren't useful to them. So demonize them at any cost. You can pretty much say anything from the pulpit and the audience will eat it up. Let's keep watching.
The child at some point becomes capable of taking these powers and channeling them through their mind, through their arms, or through their power sources. Their power sources, of course, are many of the symbols that they pick up from the Pokémon paraphernalia. So Pokémon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells, how to use psychic phenomena, how to put to work supernatural powers against their enemies.
Well, we weren't really fully in reality from the start, but we've completely departed reality at this point. What is he even talking about? That's not how any of this works. Pokemon are just pets that have special abilities. They can kick or punch or generate electricity. It has nothing to do with channeling this power psychically, but facts don't matter with these people. What matters is demonizing the things they hate. Let's keep watching.
Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic. But while you might not take it quite seriously, I assure you that demons take it quite seriously. Satan takes it quite seriously. Your children need to know there's a devil and he hates them and he wants to ruin their life. There was even a couple of reports where children had been stabbed by other children over Pokemon cards. Do you remember the Dungeons and Dragons game of the 80s where children, young people even ended up killing themselves because it was a role-playing game? Our kids are going out in gangs on the streets and they're so used to killing each other in their fantasy games and on their video screens and blowing each other away and blowing each other up that when they walk down the streets and they pull out their .45 and they pump some friend full of bullets, they kind of think in the back of their mind, well, they're just going to, we'll turn off the machine and they'll get up and they'll be there tomorrow and I'll shoot them again. It's just a game.
Wow, man. What do you even say about this? I forgot they demonized Dungeons & Dragons for a while too. This was common sentiment among Christians in the 80s and 90s. This isn't surprising at all. In fact, you can still see this same sentiment among other preachers today. For the record, I want to make sure I point out that video games do not, I repeat, do not lead to more violent behavior. That is long debunked. Just another fear-mongering tactic used by Christian extremists like this fellow right here. But I still hear it repeated, even to this day. In fact, the Ethan Crumbly situation was blamed on violent video games. It's bullshit from beginning to end. It has no basis in reality. Anyways, this video is from the 90s, but the same guy, Phil Arms, did a video in 1989 about dancing and rock and roll music. I played a clip from it earlier. Check it out.
This secular article out of the Houston Post came out the other day called, it was entitled, Lambada Called Threat to Health. Lambada is the latest dance. It is a sexual dance. It's nothing but having sex with your clothes on to music. But anyway, it's out of the Houston Chronicle, and it says, Taiwan doctors are warning trendy young people to think twice before joining the Lambada dance craze, which promoters are advertising as the forbidden dance. The United Daily News on Thursday said doctors had found the Lambada's sinuous Brazilian rhythms and close body contact could cause, quote, excessive blood flow in males, which could very possibly cause them to become dysfunctional.
I'm sorry, what? Dancing can cause excessive blood flow in males, which can cause them to become dysfunctional? And he says he got that from a quote-unquote secular article? Do I even need to bother trying to find this? It's probably fake anyways, and I'd waste an hour of my life looking for something that's ridiculous at its face. So I guess that means we shouldn't be exercising then, right? We shouldn't walk anywhere. Only take cars, even to the end of the block. We shouldn't go to the gym. That could cause males to become dysfunctional if there's too much blood flow in our body. We want our blood to be completely stationary if possible. My God, this is ridiculous. What are the chances he made this shit up? Like, do you think he found it somewhere or did he just fabricate it? Let's keep watching.
Doctors have also warned young women about the dance, saying it leads to abnormal sexual relations between dancing partners and should not be attempted without prior counseling. Again, secular analysis saying these things. The Lambada has hit Taiwan after sweeping Europe and the United States. 3 different Lambada movies are now showing in Taiwan cinemas. So even the world understands that there are sexual appetites and drives that are stirred when you involve yourselves in certain things. You know, what gets me is that Christians can't just take the Bible and just say, hey, the Bible says this. We have to have the foolish and the moronic of the world validate it before we believe it. So Just let me give you some moronic validation.
This video is a gold mine. My God, it's 17 minutes long and I can't find a place to cut it off. It's all completely unhinged from reality and I am here for it. The new tagline on my channel should be hilarious and sad. Let's watch the next clip.
It is an activity that men use, that scripture said, or that article said, for amusement. It's interesting to note that the Greek word for think is to muse. Amuse means not to think. And we live in a society that does not want to think. We live in a society that does not want to engage our brains. We live in an age of television and computers and stereos. And we don't want to make our minds activated because I'm afraid when some of us start thinking, we get fearful and anxious and frustrated with what we're thinking about.
Well, his explanation of the etymology of the word amuse is close enough, I guess. He's right, it comes from the word muse and the prefix a, which means not. Kind of like the direct translation of the word atheist simply means not theist. A more faithful translation of the word amuse would mean to entertain. Sometimes you have to just shut your brain off and watch something stupid, like the Vampire Diaries, or the Twilight series, or anything vampire related. It's just stupid, mindless, harmless garbage. And there's nothing wrong with that. I guess he believes you should be in Jesus mode 24/7. Your brain synapses should always be firing on something Jesus related. If it isn't, then you're failing as a Christian. But don't forget what this video is about. It's an anti-music, anti-dancing video. Seriously, this guy is losing his fucking mind over people dancing. That's pitiful. Let's keep watching.
So we don't want to think. In fact, I was researching something not long ago when I was in a library.
I don't believe you.
And the librarian recognized me and began to talk to me. She said, I've been a teacher for X number of years. She said, we have just discovered that the average attention span of the average young person is now 4 to 5 minutes. And so they're having to redo their curriculums in the public schools to engage the minds of children for that time span and then give them a kind of a break and go at it again.
Oh, I have no idea where he got that number. It's kind of hard to find information on attention spans in the year 1989 when this was filmed, but I honestly have no idea what he thought they'd be doing that would be lowering people's attention spans. They did have video games at the time. They were just starting to catch on. Video games had been popular in the form of the Atari 2600 back in the early 80s, but then there was a video game crash of 1983, and video games just completely died out after that point. Nintendo tried entering the video game market in the late 80s, and they were surprisingly successful. Super Mario Bros. 3 came out for the original Nintendo the same year this video was filmed, 1989. The Game Boy was released in 1989 too, but you'd think these devices would increase people's attention spans, right? I did a little digging to fact check him on that attention span quote, and I did find something, but not for 1989. There was a report that came out in 2015 about the average attention span dropping from 12 seconds in the year 2000 to 8 seconds in 2015. The methodology on the study was actually very flimsy, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But it at least shows us that this dude was orders of magnitude off from where it actually is. He said it's 4 or 5 minutes? No, attention spans are sometimes measured in seconds, and it's task dependent. If you're reading, your attention span is going to be very different than if you're watching TV or playing a video game, or even sitting in a classroom. The dude has been full of shit from the very beginning. Every single source he quoted was either completely fake or doesn't exist anymore. I couldn't find even one of them, but it doesn't matter, especially not back then, before the internet really existed, at least in its current form. How are you going to fact check him? How would you contact him to tell him he was wrong? Would he even listen? How would you expose him to the rest of the world? He had a platform. His audience didn't. Social media didn't exist at the time. At least we can fact check now and call out the nonsense for what it is. But again, I'll be damned if it isn't entertaining as hell to watch. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. Thanks for watching, guys.